morning. Was not planning on doing a second show today, but we got major Geno Smith news. And for more on Geno, we say hello to our guy, Joe Blewett, who normally joins us to break down some film. Joe, of course, with Jets X Factor. But Mr. Blewett, as a police officer in the state of New Jersey, what's your reaction to the news that the Geno Smith case has been declared inactive by the Davie Police Department?
Yeah, it's we had a 30-minute segment on like 2 weeks ago, which the timing of these seem to be perfect every other couple of weeks. It's always breaking on Tuesdays. So yeah, it's exactly what we spoke about. I didn't really see anything on the footage that I was concerned about, and the investigation has been concluded, as Rich says here. So no concern with Geno, minus the fact that he just keeps speeding with not the right plates and not the right license, which is not really going to, get him hemmed up in terms of like getting arrested and missing some games or anything like that. So might drive too fast, but nothing to be concerned about.
The Geno Smith case, this again is from the Davie Police Department. If you're listening on either Apple or Spotify, I'm reading a tweet from ESPN Jets reporter Rich Cimini. By the way, Jets Collective live Wednesday, that is tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern. So we'll talk about this with Cimini and Brandon Tuna in our next episode. But Cimini writes, in the Geno case stemming from a June 21st dispute with a woman at his home has been declared inactive by police. The investigation concluded and no charges are being brought. Future investigative action is contingent on additional information or evidence being brought forward, per a police spokesperson. No further investigative steps can be reasonably taken with the information presently available, per the investigators' report. The follow-up from the police report is, quote, due to the inability to review surveillance footage, conflicting stories, and lack of independent witnesses, the officer was unable to determine the primary aggressor in the physical altercation. Smith told police he didn't know how to operate the security cameras outside his home and would have to speak with the security company to retrieve the footage. He provided the officer with ring camera footage, which showed that the woman arrived on scene and aggressively knocked on the door while holding his child, the report said. Later, Stuv, that is the woman, walked out with a bag and Smith followed her out. The ring camera footage did not show any physical altercation occur between the two. So, again, there's no evidence here, Joe, that Geno Smith did anything wrong. Is that basically, to sum up, where we're at?
Yeah. Can you pull up the first tweet again from Cimini and then do the follow-up after, so I can just comment on like some of it? Like, no charge being brought for your yeah, like, so this is kind of what I said. No further investigative steps can be reasonably taken without information presently available. It's kind of what we spoke about. It's like when you go to a domestic, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a thing where you make the arrest on scene there. Or again, like if you were to hit her, but she didn't complain of pain initially, but then eventually went to the doctor and he revealed like some type of internal bleeding from a punch or something like that, then maybe you could see it, but still, why would she not say that on scene? We talked about her kind of being the aggressor on that video in terms of like following him, and all of those things, which led me to believe that nothing was going to be brought with these allegations. And I said it. And again, this is not necessarily the case, but people kind of got on me a little bit. But like, you see some people who reach a little bit. It could be a girl who is not happy they're broken up. It could be not happy with her financial situation and wants some of Geno's money. Could want his house. Like, it happens both ways, where sometimes the accused is actually the victim. So you can't just, and again, I'm not like trying to victim shame, but you cannot always believe the victim. So you have to have enough evidence. And then the next tweet is about the surveillance stuff, which the inability to review surveillance footage, which I'm assuming, and I'm assuming this, which maybe assumptions make an ass out of me, but I'm assuming that means like from neighbors, anything like that. There's no other surveillance footage in the area. And then with him not knowing how to operate his outside of his home, he seems to not know how to do a lot of things, like the tags, the license, didn't know how to carry a license, didn't know how to do, I don't have to do my security cameras, but at least, and again, I'm not like a detective in Jersey, so I don't really do a lot of like electronic warrants and things like that. But you need what we call PC, probable cause, to get warrants for things. And if they don't have any probable cause, if they can't reasonably articulate that a crime was committed, they're not going to be able to get a warrant at least in New Jersey. I don't know how it works in Florida. Obviously, laws in different states are different. So, yeah, they couldn't get surveillance footage either from his house or other residences around the area, businesses around the area. You know, you can even get footage from Teslas now, which is crazy because Teslas are always recording. Just letting you know, always. Conflicting stories, which is her story versus hers versus his. Lack of independent witnesses, neighbors, anybody in the area. They didn't have any of that. Unable to determine the primary aggressor in the physical altercation. I don't know if that means there actually was a physical altercation or if that's just how they worded it or not. But typically, if there is a physical altercation, you do make an arrest, at least in New Jersey. So that's a little bit of I would like to ask them specifically about that, but obviously it's not a cause for concern because he wasn't arrested. And then I don't think they're not going to be able to get a warrant for the security footage outside the house because there was no probable cause. He showed him the Ring camera footage. Arrived on scene, aggressively knocked on the door while holding his child, and then maybe she didn't hear. She heard what she didn't want to hear, and then try to make claims. I'm not saying that's 100% the case, but that's kind of what I was leading towards at first. So yeah, here we are. He's fine again. Has he rubbed me a little bit the wrong way with just not driving with his license? Like specifically, listen, it's really not at the end of the day, it's not the biggest deal in the world, right? Like being transparent, going 70 and a 45 or whatever it was, it's really not that crazy. But when you're the quarterback of the Jets, when you just got pulled over 2 more times before that in 2 months, you're getting criticism about it. Just bring your freaking license, dude. Just put it in your pocket. It's really not that hard to do. So it's a little bit I don't know, arrogance or narcissist. I don't know exactly what you'd call that, but just try to avoid that situation. If you are speeding, at least have the license and get a driver, maybe drive the speed limit, not 25, 30 over, just drive like a normal human being, So, but that's more of an annoyance than anything we're really concerned about. So yeah, he's good. We can squash this storyline. The one of the only 3 things we've been talking about the last month or so. Thank God we're 11 days away from, I think, rookies reporting.
Thank God is right. I mean, look, the bottom line is this was the only of the 3 instances with the Davie Police Department in South Florida. This was the only one that actually could have major implications to Geno's livelihood. And obviously that affects the Jets as he's their starting quarterback for the season. Now that the case is inactive, he's officially not being charged. The other traffic stuff are bad optics. You don't want your starting quarterback being pulled over twice over the course of 3 or 4 months and not having a license each time. The first time he didn't have the right tags for the vehicle. The second time he's speeding. Okay, just carry a license, man. It's not that hard. I just think it's a bad optic. But at the end of the day, none of this matters if Geno Smith goes out there and throws 3 touchdowns week 1 and plays well. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, as long as he's going to be ready for training camp, he's not being charged with anything, which he's not. It is what it is, and we all can move forward now. Not that I ever thought, based on everything we've heard and your breakdown on the show a few weeks ago, he was going to be charged. But the last thing we needed is this kind of just hovering over the Jets as camp opens. At least now, no investigation. He's ready to roll. Maybe hire a driver, and let's get the training camp at the end of the month.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's an annoyance for some of us with the speeding stuff or whatever, but his teammates don't care. And like you said, if he comes out and wins week 1, week 2, it doesn't matter now. Realistically, it doesn't matter. So I think he might be a little bit ignorant or a little bit entitled. Yeah, sure, but I don't have to love every single football player on the team. If they win football games, I'll be completely fine. So yeah, come out, rip up Salah, 4 touchdowns, and I couldn't care less. And you're my favorite Jets quarterback from there. So yeah, it's good that it's not hanging over the team. We don't have to worry about suspensions or anything like that, even though it's probably going to be the next year regardless. But yeah, it's not hanging over our heads, so it's great.
Here's what I want to know, Joe, as a police officer, right? So they do the investigation. They say there's no evidence that Geno Smith committed any sort of crime. He's not being charged with anything. Geno obviously denied any wrongdoing. If I'm Geno Smith, I would be suing this woman for slandering my name, to accuse him of, quote, beating her ass, right? To accuse Geno Smith of assault and slander his name, and he's a public figure, right? If I didn't do this and I'm now not being charged, I would sue her. The idea that she could just say this, accuse Geno, they investigate it up, and we can't find any evidence he's not being charged, and then she just gets to just move on with her life. I would try and sue this person for trying to slander my name if I truly did not lay a finger on this person.
Yeah, there's a name for that. I'm just lacking sleep, so I forget exactly what that's called. But yeah, for like defamation of character or whatever the hell that's called. But yeah, he could try to do that, or it could just be a thing where, you know, if she's not necessarily well off and all of that stuff, like how much is he really going to get? So let's just wipe my hands clean of it and not make a bigger media story about it. You know, like if he was dating Madison Beer like Justin Herbert is, or Taylor Swift, then maybe, you know, try to get some money in your pocket or whatever. But you know, I'm assuming she's not the most well-off person in the world. I'm not calling her poor or anything like that, but I'm assuming she's not close to what Geno Smith is making in terms of, you know, in terms of his money, you know, per year. So maybe he just wants to wipe his hands clean of it. Who cares about a few thousand, $100,000, whatever it would be? Definitely not $100,000, but a few $1,000s here and there. It's just not worth it. Then you have to go to court, all this stuff. So wipe your hands clean, and try to, you know, I'm not going to say he's going to try to improve his image. I don't think he really cares. But yeah, just focus on football, win some games, and get some of these Jets fans who are a little bit annoyed with you on your good side, because it's been a little bit annoying with the stops, how arrogant he was to that one officer. I don't know if that was the first stop or the second stop, whatever stop that was, where he's saying do a better job, continuously speeding, the IK incident, the incident where he's almost getting a fight at the flag football game. You know, so yeah, maybe not my favorite character in the world, but he's not a criminal. It isn't, you know, just because you're maybe a little bit of a dick at times doesn't mean you're necessarily a bad dude, just maybe a little bit entitled. Maybe he's in a bad neighborhood where there is one of those bad cops. He's had bad interactions with police officers. Like, I don't know where he was raised in his interactions with police officers. You know, as a police officer, I can admit, obviously with any profession, there's bad people in every profession. And there are guys who get a badge and they like to throw their weight around a little bit because they were the nerds in high school or whatever it may be. Like that happens. It does. So maybe he's had bad interactions with those guys, and that's kind of swayed his opinion. That's why he comes off the way he does to police officers. So obviously there's context to every situation, but I like to just see him stay out of the news, focus on football, be a good teammate, be a good leader, and dominate, you know, and just make us stop having to talk about stupid stuff like this.
All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throwing some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. What are your expectations for Geno Smith as the Jet quarterback going into 2026?
Yeah, I think he'll be a below average quarterback. In terms of like ranking, it's hard to quantify, right? But I think he'll be like near the bottom 10, but you know, 22nd, 23rd, maybe some weeks 15, 10. You know, if he has another week like he did against the Falcons with Jeff Cumberland or the perfect passer rating against the Dolphins, then he's near the top 5. Like he can be that good in some weeks, you know, accurate. A guy who is very aggressive. And I think that's a good thing with AD Mitchell and his ability to win deep and stuff. So yeah, I'm anticipating somewhere around like 22, 23, 24 touchdowns from Geno, maybe like the mid-teens of picks, high 3,000 yards, which isn't necessarily great. It's not anything to necessarily write home about unless you're a Jets fan. You know, that's the best season we've had in however long. So yeah, I think he'll be perfectly fine. I don't think he'll be near average, though. I think that's kind of passed him by. And those Seattle days, I have yet to go back and watch them, and I probably won't because we're so close to the season. I would be a psycho to go back and be watching Seattle Geno at this point. Let's just see what happens in a month from now. But yeah, no, I expect him to at least be able to carry the offense to be, efficient and one that can actually threaten defenses. Where with Justin Fields, what was the stat with the Broncos game? It was like negative net. It was like negative 53 passing yards or whatever we had, right? With sacks accounted for. I don't think that'll be happening again, So Jets have a bunch of weapons. Geno Smith's going to be given a chance to, or he's going to give them a chance to make a play on the ball, whether good or not. He's aggressive. We saw that one play of him in training camp with Donnie Mitchell where he split two defenders and Mitchell made like a pirouetting 360 type of catch from Geno. So he will try to force balls in the tight windows. He'll give his guys opportunities to make plays, and hopefully they kind of they make out well on his aggressiveness, right? Like make him correct, win that jump ball, win that play, get that yak. So it'll be fun. Even if it is bad in certain incidences where he throws some interceptions, it's at least going to be a fun offense to watch.
Jetta, let's go.
Come on now, Joe Blewett. Geno is a free man. We're ready to go. He's going to electrify the tri-state area. The offensive explosion.
They wrote me off. I ain't right back though.
You sound like you're writing Geno off. Bottom 10 quarterback. Come on.
Yeah. Hey, I as a Jets fan, I hope he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, it's just, we can look at the Raiders situation, right? And like, I think some people think he's the worst quarterback, a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL because of that situation. But I don't think that's true just because of how bad the offense was, and I showed plenty of plays on this channel, right? I did 2 breakdowns, which were 56 plays each. So I did 112 plays on him. So I showed a lot of plays of why the offense wasn't working. Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll not being on the same page, implementing plays or calling plays in games that weren't implemented in the game plan. So it was definitely a mess, but Geno was part of it too, no doubt. But I don't think he's as bad as 19 touchdowns, 17 picks. So again, there'll be some weeks where he's near average, no doubt. It depends on how quickly, he adjusts to Frank Reich's offense. Is Frank Reich the right offensive coordinator in the year 2026? Listen, I know he did some good things. That was about a half a decade to a decade ago. So does he adjust his offense? Does he take more deep shots? Is he incorporating motion to help Geno Smith see exactly what the defense is doing or have a good idea of what the defense is doing pre-snap? There was an interview with one of the vets or one of the guys in recent weeks where he was saying Geno Smith will hold on to, I think it was maybe AZ Thomas with the Jets website, where it's Geno will hold on to the ball last second to see what the defense is doing. So you're hoping that Frank Reich, kind of jumps on the trend of using a lot of motion and stuff to make the defense show their hand a little bit before the ball is snapped. So you're hoping he adjusts that way. So there's a lot of weapons. How quickly does Sadiq take off? How quickly does Cooper take off? Is AD Mitchell what I think AD Mitchell can be? Because I think he's the second best receiver on the Jets currently. Does the offensive line gel? How is Parham versus Simpson? Can Myers take a step up? So there's a lot of factors into making Geno Smith, anywhere from the 23rd, 24th, 22nd best, or 14th, 15th, 16th. It's possible. As a Jets fan, I tend to skew a little bit more negative because I've been burned in the past. So I'd rather, again, expect the worst and hope for the best, obviously.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.